What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So let's start this video with the recent physique update of Andrew Jacked, who is pushing videos on his YouTube channel very frequently now. And just because he is so close to this year's Miss Olympia, that is a treat to watch for all of us bodybuilding fans. And you guys should definitely check that out. So shoulders are a great strength for a guy like Andrew Jacked. And it is kinda funny when I see all these comments that there is all in there. I mean, Andrew has always had those very insane round delts. So Andrew's trainer Psycho Fitness, he's old school. He was there training with the 90s guys. And that is why we are watching this old school movement, pullovers, something that we rarely see in this day and age. So is Andrew really the future of bodybuilding, especially the men's open bodybuilding? So the man was just shy of 300 pounds the day before Texas Pro this year. And almost everyone was just losing their mind. That he won't be in shape. He won't be conditioned enough. So not only did he silence his critics, but he made a very solid impression on everyone out there, including the judges, that his time is coming and he can be a legit contender for this year's Miss Olympia title. Especially if he is a little bit more tighter from the back, especially in that back double biceps. And we saw the judges were extremely happy with the look that Andrew presented at this year's Texas Pro. They just want to see him bring that Nitro Texas Pro look to this year's Olympia prejudging and just continue to improve from there onwards for the finals. So the exact words by Tyler Mannion were that some of the top guys, they will have a really hard time standing next to Andrew Jacked, and that is such a big deal. And I have to say that is definitely true for the first three shots. The front relaxed, the front double biceps and the front lat spread. So Andrew is still digging very deep, and this upcoming week, that might be the hardest one of this prep. So I cannot wait to see the final package, and especially seeing him getting compared to the top guys in the world. Next up is Brandon Curry. Finally someone recognizes Brandon Curry's potential and his ability and his chances of placing top 5 at this year's Miss Olympia, despite everyone counting him out. And that someone is Fuad Abad, the only big voice in bodybuilding at the moment, who has Brandon in his top 5.
Count all the poses. He's in the top 5 of all those poses.
Yes.
But nobody has him in the top 5 except me.
And if you think about it, when Ford broke it down for these guys, most of them agreed that Brandon Curry is so competitive in almost every shot against all those guys who are most probably gonna be making top 4 this year. And this argument about his weak legs, we have been listening to this for so many years now, and yet still he places so damn high every single time he is on that Olympia stage. We saw that happening last year as well. I mean, the guy was in the hospital just one day before the prejudging, and still he ended up in 4th place, beating a guy like Andrew Jacked.
Side chest, side tricep. Where do you put Brandon? Second, third, maybe? First even? And side chest, maybe? Who knows?
Yeah.
Back double, back lat. His back lat's really impressive.
Back is amazing. Yeah.
We're talking, Hottie and Derek.
I know. I'm not saying he won. I'm saying where would you put him in those back shots? Third, fourth, fifth?
He's top 5, all of them.
Right.
I'm putting him below ahead of everyone except for Nick, Derek, and Hottie.
The only concern I personally have about Brandon Curry is that he started this prep very late than usual, and his former coach Abdullah said those things. That Brandon was looking smaller than Chris Cormier in the offseason this year. But as of right now, it seems like he is back to his normal size. So despite Brandon not being the most ripped guy on the stage, he still somehow manages to impress the judges with his insane shape. And he is all round and 3D and so damn bubbly. So all we need at this point is just one progress update. And Brandon is gonna be the talk of the town all the way till this year's Miss Olympia. So I do hope his peak goes better than last year, when he was in the hospital just before the prejudging. And that certainly messed up his carbs loading protocol. But still somehow he managed to place top 4. And yes, I know there wasn't a factor of Nick Walker at the Olympia last year. And Nick was able to beat Brandon in 2022. So the biggest question mark is certainly on Brandon Curry. Is he gonna slide down in placings at this year's Olympia? And we will see an end of an era, an end of a great bodybuilding career. Or is he here to stay for a few more years? To let me know what you guys think. Some more updates from the best Brazilian bodybuilder on the planet right now, Rafael Brandao. So Brandao's legs were already considered one of the best in the men's open bodybuilding in this current day and age. And he has been putting a lot of work and a lot of effort in that area to make them even better and even bigger for this year's Miss Olympia. So Rafael Brandao showing up at his best conditioning of his life at this year's Miss Olympia That is very much a possibility. He has been working with Neil Hill for more than 1 year now. And Neil was a master of peaking 7 times Miss Olympia in the 212 class flex Lewis to absolute perfection year after year. And Rafael's package in Ohio, that was absolutely insane. And that was definitely his all-time best. So considering that his last show, that was the Arnold Brazil back in April, Rafael has had a few months of off-season to fully dedicate on getting bigger, to putting on more mass, more size, and be a few pounds heavier for this year's Miss Olympia compared to what we saw at the Arnold, especially in Columbus. So Brandao and his team truly believe that he will be fighting for the Olympia title one day. He doesn't have the size yet to be in that conversation for the top spot, or even for top 5 at this year's Miss Olympia. But he has continuously added size in all the right areas on all of his frame since 2017, that year he won his pro card, and also that year he made his pro debut. And his aesthetics, I have to say, have still remained the same, or maybe have gotten even better over the years. So Brandao will definitely be finishing in the top 10 at the Olympia this year. But the thing is, that isn't what these guys are aiming for. I mean, he was top 10 2 years ago at his Olympia debut as well, and that was a smaller version of Brandao. So they must be looking for at least top 6 at this year's Miss Olympia, which, by the way, in my opinion, is kinda difficult. Next up, we have an update from Urs Kalecinski. So you have got to agree with Urs on his stance on why he hasn't been posting any physique updates. Throughout this prep, he hasn't posted any update on his social media. So everyone posts their best pictures on Instagram, and this has always been this way, and always will be. So Nick Fokker might be one of the only few guys who uses the worst possible lighting and posts all of his physique updates, even his weakest shots. And majority of the other guys, in every division, they will utilize the best possible lighting, the perfect angle, and be fully pumped. And I have to say there is nothing wrong with that. But the thing is, when you are a competitive bodybuilder, you have to show up just as good on the stage as you do on your updates. Otherwise, your fans and the general bodybuilding community on social media, they will always call you out. So Urs Kalecinski has stayed covered up throughout this year's Olympia prep. So I don't think there was ever this much pressure on Urs before, the one that he's facing right now for this year's Olympia. Because for the very first time since 2022, he isn't making top 3 in any of the predictions. And also going by the paper, Chris Bumstead, Ramon Dino, and Wesley Wiesers, they are absolutely locked in for the top 3 for this year's Miss Olympia. So Urs better show up in the best possible conditioning of his career if he wants to regain all his hype. So he is one of the hottest workers in classic physique at the moment. And the thing is, the man has achieved a lot in such a short duration of time. And the guy is very young. Now, even if Urs finishes in the top 4, that is gonna be still a huge accomplishment. Because the thing is, he will still be beating more than 60 guys to be in the top 4 at this year's Miss Olympia. Next up, we have an update from the former 212 Miss Olympia, Kamal, as well as the reigning Masters Olympia champion. So Kamal is in the process of rebuilding his physique as the Masters Olympia return in 2025. And Kamal will be a perfect candidate again to win that title one more time. Because despite his age, the man hasn't faded one bit. Now, I have to say his waistline, that isn't exactly the same as it was back in 2019 when he won the Olympia title for the very first time in the 212. But somehow he has been able to hold on to all that size. The size on his legs especially is still there. And on top of that, he still gets into that insane level of conditioning. And that was crazy enough to kill all those giants like Max Charles, Phil Klahar, Josh Lenardowicz, and those were some of the biggest names on that list to win last year's Masters Olympia. But Kamal was able to beat them all, and that too by quite some margin. People who were there at that show, they say he absolutely smoked them all. Plus, Kamal has been competing as a professional bodybuilder for more than 2 decades now. And that density and muscle maturity, that is certainly displayed on his physique. So will he ever try to compete in the 212 Olympia again? I'm gonna say that is highly unlikely. That chapter is in the past now. Because the thing is, he doesn't have a shot at winning the Olympia title now, especially against a guy like Keon Pearson. But he might be willing to do the men's Open Olympia at least once before he hangs up the posing trunks. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video, and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.